We are group 5 and we're going to discuss a little about blood pressure. My name is Celia Morado and I'm going to talk about the history of blood pressure. In 1905, blood pressure was greatly influenced by a Russian physician by the name of Nikolai Kordakov. He greatly influenced the way we take blood pressure as of today using a
sphygmomanometer.
This device helped break up the blood pressure process into 5 phases, which consist of phase 1, a clear tapping sound, which is what we also record as a systolic number. Phase 2, a swishing sound. Phase 3, a crisper and loud tapping sound. Phase 4, a blowing sound. And phase 5 is when it goes completely silent, is which we also record as the diastolic number. Now I'm going to pass it over to Chris, who's going to explain furthermore of what systolic and diastolic.
My name is Chris, and I'm going to be talking about what the units of blood pressure are and what systolic and diastolic is. So for the units of blood pressure, it's measured in millimeters of mercury, which is abbreviated as mmHg. And then for the systolic blood pressure, this is the pressure created when the heart contracts, which is the first number or the top number when written out. And then the diastolic pressure is the pressure in the arteries between heartbeats when the heart is at rest, which is the lower number. Now I'm going to pass it over to Andrea to talk about the pre-assessment process.
Be sure to let the patient rest for at least 5 minutes. Make sure to remind them that no caffeine or nicotine at least 30 minutes prior to the assessment. It is preferred that the blood pressure is taken over the bare arm, and the back must be supported, feet flat on the floor, uncrossed, with the arm elevated at heart level. Be sure to use a proper cuff size to ensure correct blood pressure readings. Now I will pass you over to Pedro and Chris to demonstrate the blood pressure process.
Pedro Chavez, I'm going to be taking blood pressure on my subject here. First thing you want to do is make sure the legs are uncrossed, and then when you place the cuff over, make sure it's aligned with the brachial artery. Make sure it's snug to the subject. And then when putting on your stethoscope, make sure the prongs are facing towards your ears, canals. And then place the bulb along the brachial artery. And then pump up to 180. And then slowly release at 2 to 5 millimeters of mercury a second.
As you release the air from the bulb, be sure to pay close attention for the first clear tapping sound. This sound represents the systolic number. Then as the sound lessens, be sure to pay close attention for total silence. This represents the diastolic number. Once the diastolic number is reached, you can then release all air out of the bulb, and that will conclude the blood pressure session.
My name is Jessica Porras, and I'm about to explain to you the categories of blood pressure. First off, individuals that have a normal blood pressure have a systolic value of less than 120 millimeters per mercury and a diastolic value of less than 80 millimeters per mercury. Individuals that are pre-hypertension have a systolic value between 120 to 139 millimeters per mercury or a diastolic value between 80 to 89 millimeters per mercury. Individuals that are stage 1 hypertension have a systolic value of 140 and 159 millimeters per mercury or 90 to 99 millimeters per mercury of diastolic. Individuals that have a hypertension stage 2 have a systolic value of 160 millimeters per mercury or higher, and with a diastolic value of 100 millimeters per mercury or higher. Individuals that have a hypertensive crisis need emergency care. They have a systolic value of higher than 180 millimeters per mercury or a diastolic value of higher than 110 millimeters per mercury. And this concludes our presentation.